Hokage married Kushina and became Naruto's father. Episode 131. Hearing the explanation of the big snake pill, Ye Feng turned his head and asked, I thought you were just studying the blood succession limit factor. This is actually part of factor research, and if you want to get their power, you must first understand their essence. Speaking of this, Orochimaru frowned and said bitterly, unfortunately, there is a bottleneck at the moment. In the process of cloning ninjas with strong bloodline boundary ability, the abilities in their bloodlines seem to be instinctively self-initiating and destroying their bodies. Those clones are not as strong as intercolumn cells, so if they are damaged, they basically declare the cloning failure. So far, the investment cost is too large, and no solution has been found for the time being, so the progress has also fallen. Hearing this, Ye Feng thought thoughtfully, the research that the Great Snake Pill is conducting now, although the current results are average, it is likely to come in handy in the future. I know about your side, and then I will let Lugio allocate funds to the Scientific Research Bureau. There is no problem with resources, you can continue your research. Ye Feng said expressionlessly, but remember, this is the era of peace, and it is your freedom to do whatever research you want. But there is a premise that you do not harm the innocent. Understood. The big snake pill nodded in response. He naturally knew that Ye Feng's implication was that he was not allowed to use ordinary civilians for human experiments. After all, he had a previous conviction. Next, Ye Feng and the big snake pill chatted for a while, before leaving the Scientific Research Bureau. It was already past 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and the whole sky had become dusk. Looking at the increasingly prosperous village in the distance, Ye Feng suddenly wanted to stroll around and feel the changes he had brought to the world. As the sun set, 7 or 8 young men and women walked out of the ninja school, probably 17 to 20 years old. In the world of Naruto, most ninjas graduated from the academy around the age of 12, so naturally these people are not students. As the ninja school expands and enrolls more new students, it also needs to increase the number of teachers, such as some middle ninja and a very small number of upper ninja who do not go out on tasks on weekdays. And this group of young men and women is part of this group. That kid named Iruka is pretty good, although his talent is mediocre. He is working hard. Ito-sensei, don't talk about work after work. By the way, Mikoto, we're going to eat yakiniku next. Are you coming with us? A woman with gentle temperament and beautiful black hair in the crowd smiled and shook her head. No, I still have something to do later. Oh. The boys couldn't help but make disappointed sounds. As Konoha's famous beauty and Uchiha's girlfriend, Uchiha Mikoto is their dream lover. But since the other party said that there would be something to do later, it was not good for them to say anything. Looking at the disappointed looks of the boys, Mikoto Uchiha smiled and turned away, leaving only a graceful back. Mikoto is really a beauty. She probably doesn't have a boyfriend yet. A few more times to come out, I should have a chance, right? Listening to these words, the girl next to her said with a slight sourness, you crooked dates don't daydream. People are the eldest lady of a famous family. At this time, Uchiha Mikoto could no longer hear their conversation. In fact, what she said before was just the rhetoric of those men, and she had nothing to do later. She stood alone on the side of the road, gentle temperament, beautiful appearance, a close-fitting black dress inadvertently showed her beautiful figure. Just one stop there attracted the attention of countless men. However, she did not notice this, just lowered her head and walked forward absent-mindedly. Bang! Uchiha Mikoto's head just hit the back of the man in front of her, and she immediately nodded apologetically after reacting. I'm sorry, I didn't see the road clearly just now. As soon as he finished speaking, Uchiha Mikoto saw that the other party was a black-haired man with a mask on his face. Long time no see, Mikoto. The man pulled down the mask a little, revealing his original handsome appearance, and said with a smile, I didn't expect to meet you here. During this time, he had been busy with all kinds of things, cultivating, researching, and defeating enemies, and he really hadn't seen Mikoto for a long time. Night Maple. When he saw Yeke's appearance, Uchiha Mikoto's eyes showed surprise. Don't be so loud. Ye Feng raised his hand on his lips to indicate his meaning, and then put on the black mask so as not to be seen by others. During this time, his identity has become a little subtle and sensitive, or his popularity and prestige have risen to an incredible height, and once recognized, the situation is estimated to be even more exaggerated than the groupies blocking the entire airport in the previous life. Before, I also heard that some people in the people erected statues of him to engage in sex and the like, publicizing his achievements everywhere, and the leaflets distributed can be said to be all over the mainland. Episode 132. Considering the security risks that such fanatics might bring, Ye Feng had also sent people to disband these groups, but what he didn't expect was that even if these groups were disbanded, their deification and fanaticism about themselves did not subside. but became more and more high. Therefore, during this time, Ye Feng went out almost wearing masks in case it caused any disturbances. Of course, if Ye Feng wanted to change the current situation, he could still do it, but he felt that as long as they were not organized, it would naturally return to normal in the future. Just like some things that suddenly became popular in the previous life, after a long time, the heat will naturally recede, and there is no need to spend too much manpower in this regard. I'm sorry. Uchiha Mikoto also realized that her previous behavior might cause trouble, and immediately lowered her voice. Why are you here? Even Hokage has to deal with a huge amount of complicated affairs every day, and documents can be piled up throughout the office. What's more, the night maple that unified the continent. Things to deal with are definitely stacked up. In Uchiha Mikoto's opinion, today's Ye Feng is the kind of person who manages everything day by day. If it weren't for Konoha's high level and a group of backbones, it would be difficult to meet each other. I just finished some business and suddenly wanted to walk around here. Ye Feng said gently, do you want to go together? His way back also happens to be the same road as Uchiha Mikoto's home. Since he meets a familiar woman, it is nothing to send the other party home, and there is an extra companion on the road to chat. Okay. Walking to Ye Kid's side, Uchiha Mikoto's face turned red unconsciously, and even if she was like a big lady before, she suddenly lowered her head and followed like a little daughter-in-law. At this time it was dusk, the sky had darkened, and the surroundings seemed a little dim, and the light of the street lamp slowly fell on the two of them, dragging out a long shadow. The two chatted a lot along the way. Ye Feng had a wealth of knowledge and experience, said some interesting things from the experience, and in a few words he could make Uchiha Mikoto laugh and laugh. Finally, the two walked to Uchiha's mansion, and Uchiha Mikoto reluctantly whispered, then I go first? Looking at Ye Feng's handsome face, there was a hint of reluctance in her tone. After Ye Feng, he didn't find out, and he said to himself, okay, if something calls me later, I'm going to leave too. After speaking, Ye Feng waved his hand and walked away without looking back. Uchiha Mikoto behind him looked at his departing figure, his face unconsciously flushed with a faint blush, and a trace of hesitation flashed in his eyes. Seeing Ye Feng walking farther and farther, as if she was about to disappear in front of her, she took a deep breath and summoned up the courage to shout, Ye Feng, you wait, what's wrong? Suddenly stopped, Hokage turned his head and looked at Uchiha Mikoto rather suspiciously. He felt that today's Uchiha Mikoto was a little strange, startled and absent-minded, as if there was something on his mind. You. The two spoke in unison, looking at Ye Feng's deep and charming eyes. Uchiha Mikoto's breathing became rapid, and her open red lips stammered so hard that she couldn't say a word. All the rhetoric I had thought of a moment ago was swept away, and I only felt that my mind was completely blank, and I couldn't think of anything. Hokage felt more and more strange. He walked to Uchiha Mikoto's side, put his hand on her forehead, and said worriedly, Mikoto, why is your face so red? It won't be a cold. While saying this, Ye Feng was also a little suspicious. Could it be that such a strong physique of a ninja would really catch a cold? When Hokage's hand was placed on his forehead, Uchiha Mikoto's cheeks instantly became red, and her breathing was not smooth, as if the whole person was about to suffocate and faint, and she said the thoughts in her heart in a daze. Tomorrow, at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, there will be a forbearance exhibition over there at the expo. Can you accompany me then? After sensing that there was nothing wrong with the other party's body, Hokage retracted his palm, and only then did Mikoto's words reach his ears. Is Mikoto trying to date me? Although Hokage is not good at handling the relationship between men and women, he is not a straight man of steel who is ridiculously dull. How can I not know Uchiha Mikoto's feelings for himself at this point? Looking at the beautiful face that was already covered with a nervous blush at this time, Ye Feng suddenly remembered Seiko. Seiko is the daughter born after the union of him and Mikoto Uchiha in the future, and even in the time spent with Seiko, they all avoid topics related to the future, but Hokage can still feel a sense of happiness and dependence from Seiko, and she is also very close to Kushina without barriers. This sends a message to Ye Feng. Even if his future self is with Kushina and Uchiha Mikoto, his family relationship is still very harmonious. In my mind, I remember my bits and pieces with Mikoto Uchiha. Maybe something is inevitable. Ye Kid's eyes couldn't help but have a touch of tenderness, and his fingers lightly knotted Uchiha Mikoto's eyebrows. I'll arrive on time for tomorrow's appointment. It's cool, so hurry up and get inside. After that, Ye Feng turned and left. Uchiha Mikoto still felt dizzy, and it wasn't until she came back to her senses that Hokage had long gone, leaving her alone in a daze at the door. Episode 133. What the hell am I doing? Uchiha Mikoto couldn't help but feel a little regretful about her actions that had just been hot-headed. She remembered Joshinai, who was originally the other party's best friend, but now she is seducing someone else's husband. At this time, a voice behind her interrupted her thinking. Silly girl, since you like it, be brave. Hearing this, Uchiha Mikoto was like a cat caught by the tail in an instant. Her whole body suddenly trembled, and she turned around and blushed shyly to see her father standing in the doorway looking at her. Uchiha Mikoto stammered, Dad, when did you come? Probably from when you invited it. Speaking of this, Uchiha Yuanlu clasped his hands in front of his chest and said with a bad smile, No wonder you can't look at any of the men in the clan. I originally felt good about that kid named Fugaku some time ago, but I was also rejected by you in person. It turned out that he had taken a fancy to Lord Ye Feng. Uchiha Motoyonagi couldn't help but give a thumbs up. It's worthy of being my daughter, with ambition. Dad, Uchiha Mikoto blushed and denied. You misunderstood. I don't have that idea about Yokaide. Speaking of this, Uchiha Mikoto's voice couldn't help but decrease. Besides, even if there is, Joshinai also, looking at his daughter's incomplete appearance, Uchiha Motoyonagi shook his head. You are still too naive. The world is controlled by the strong, and it is good for people of their own group to prosper. A strong person like Ye Feng will not only have a spouse for Joshinai in the future. On this continent today, I don't know how many women want to be his women. After all, being with him not only means that he has the strongest man in the world, but also that the family and faction will rise to become the top of the pyramid of the future of this continent. Uchiha Motoyonagi rubbed Uchiha Mikoto's hair. You believe me, with your relationship with Joshinai, even if you and Yokaide are together, she will not break you up. On the contrary, you will get along very well. Don't wait until he is snatched away by other women before you regret it. Listening to his father's words, Uchiha Mikoto did not speak, but the originally disordered heart was stabilized, and there was more firmness in his eyes. She decided to follow through on her inner thoughts. The next day, in front of a silver artistic building in Konoha's commercial circle, Mikoto Uchiha stood next to the door waiting for Yokaide. There are already many people visiting the exhibition, including ninjas and ordinary people, and many tourists from other villages and regions. Just now, Uchiha Mikoto also saw several ninjas also bringing their own ninja pets, and you can feel the lively atmosphere inside from the outside. A pair of beautiful eyes swept over the person in front of them, and finally froze on a man's body. Over here. Mikoto Uchiha smiled and waved her hand. Long wait. Ye Feng came over. When did you arrive? I just arrived. Uchiha Mikoto pulled the hair in her ear. In fact, she lied. Since yesterday, she had been looking forward to today's date, so she had been here an hour ago. I saw Uchiha Mikoto wearing elegant light makeup on her face, wearing a black close-fitting turtleneck sweater on her upper body, a silver necklace around her neck, a high-waisted envelope skirt, and her straight and slender thighs were wrapped in black stockings. The whole person is like an urban beauty in the Night Maple Plain world, simple and gentle. Apparently, she spent a lot of time dressing up for this date. In the year of the reunification of the continent, the whole world has undergone earth-shaking changes, and all kinds of new things have emerged one after another, such as the trend has also undergone a lot of changes, more diversified and modern than before. After all, the economic base determines the superstructure, and if human beings do not need to worry about food, clothing, housing, and transportation, they will naturally toss other aspects. Looking at Mikoto Uchiha in front of him, the close-fitting clothes easily outlined the touching body curves of the other party, exuding a mature feminine smell. Sensing Ikki's gaze on him, Uchiha Mikoto's pretty face couldn't help but blush, and said a little shyly, "Don't talk about this, let's go in quickly." During the year, Konoha has set off a trend of art and entertainment throughout the Empire of the Shadow, and from time to time some art exhibitions, pet exhibitions, and other events will be held. The ninja exhibition they are going to today is held by the Inuzuka family, who breeds ninja dogs, and what kind of bells and whistles such as competitions and lotteries are held. I saw that the entire venue was divided into many divisions, and the most visited areas were ninja dogs and ninja cats, which were the main pet targets of ninjas and ordinary people. There are also birds, ferrets, snakes, and other strange creatures, which even Night Maple has never seen. After arriving at the contact area, Uchiha Mikoto became even more excited, and the sound made was either wow or ah. When he saw an orange ninja cat, Uchiha Mikoto quickly pulled Yokaide over, and took the orange cat into his broad bosom, ignoring the disgust on the cat's face, and rubbed its face fiercely. I didn't expect Mikoto to have such a side. Looking at the other party's happy expression, Ye Feng was a little surprised. In the past, the other party has always been a beautiful, gentle, and beautiful appearance, but it is rare to see such a lively and active appearance as today. Although he didn't have much interest in these ninja pets and the like, but seeing Mikoto Uchiha's hidden side, he immediately felt that this trip was also a gain. Episode 134. It was already 6 o'clock in the afternoon after visiting the Shinobi exhibition, and Yokaide and Mikoto Uchiha were dining at a nearby high-end restaurant. Due to the arrangement of a single VIP room, Ye Feng originally thought that he was not afraid of meeting loyal fans. However, what he didn't expect was that when he knew that Ye Feng would come to his restaurant, the owner here immediately rushed over and wanted to personally serve Ye Feng as a waiter, and the chef also devoted all his skills to create every dish. Although there are some fluctuations, a meal is considered enjoyable. When the two left the back restaurant, it was completely dark. Let's go to the park. The park lacks light at night, so night maples don't need camouflage either. A man and a woman walk by the lake, the breeze blowing, enjoying this pleasant tranquility together. I wish this moment could continue. It was Uchiha Mikoto who spoke, and a pair of beautiful eyes gazed at Yokaide tenderly. I just feel that I must say my most true thoughts today. She said word by word, Ye Feng, I like you. Even if you already have Jioshinai, even if I feel that my approach is wrong, even if I have thought about giving up, but in the end I still can't suppress my feelings for you. I love you. Listening to the sudden confession, Ye Feng didn't say anything immediately. He reached out and gently stroked the woman's silky long hair, pulled the other party's hair behind his ear, and then whispered in his ear, I'm the same. Mikoto's delicate body trembled slightly, and her fair and delicate hand slowly stretched out, trembling but firmly grasping Naruto's hand. Uchiha Mikoto raised her head, and her somewhat rosy eyes were staring at Yokaide at the moment. Then will you accompany me in the future? She looked at the man in front of her uneasily. Even if there is Jioshinai, yes. Ye Feng nodded without hesitation. Having received a firm statement, Uchiha Mikoto felt her heartbeat accelerate wildly, and she took a deep breath. Then prove it to me. The light spread over Uchiha Mikoto's face, setting off an aesthetic feeling. She raised her head to face Ye Feng, her closed beautiful eyes, and her constantly fluttering eyelashes could see that her mood was by no means calm. Yorikide put his arm around Uchiha Mikoto. Mikoto Uchiha buried her head deep into Yorikide's chest, as if she didn't want the other party to see her expression at this time. Stay with me tonight. After a moment of warmth, the two disappeared into the street together. And that night, Mikoto Uchiha did not return home. After a night of affair, Yokaide sent Uchiha Mikoto home and used the space door to come to the wasteland near Iwahide village. Looking around at the desolate scene around him, there were no woods and mountains in the field of vision, just an endless wasteland. Yokaide was quite satisfied with this location, because what he was going to do next was not friendly to nature, and he could minimize the damage. Psychic. With a loud bang, white smoke exploded, and a huge figure emerged in the smoke. It was a giant raccoon with a body size comparable to a mountain, and the dark and strange talisman marks were all over the bloated yellow body. A pair of pointed black ears stood on top of the head, a huge mouth full of sharp diamond teeth, a pair of pitifully small eyes, and the shape of the pupils seemed to be like a copper coin. This giant beast is one of the nine-tailed beasts, and since he was suppressed by the other party in the battle with Ye Feng, he has become his psychic beast. What are you summoning me for? Shoha looked at Ye Feng with trepidation in his heart. Every time he was summoned, there was nothing good, and the man with a black belly in front of him always became a way to toss it. It's nothing, it's just that I recently learned some new tricks, and I want you to train with me. As soon as Ye Feng's voice fell, he had already entered the immortal mode. Pole state. Night Feng's immortal mode, from the appearance of the change, is not as big as the 6 spots or 6 Naruto, but there is a feeling of returning to the basics, except for an extra face around the eyes. The rest is no different from usual. He walked towards Shoha step by step. Obviously his body size was like an ant compared to Shoha, but the feeling given to Shoha was that he was like an ant being targeted by the other party. Why does this guy have the breath of a 6-way-old man? Shoha didn't know that Night Feng's immortal mode was a fusion of the power of the 6 paths, so it would feel the same breath as the 6 immortals. Won't you want to engage in some conspiracy again? Looking at the stunned Shoha, Ye Feng patted the other party and said, Don't worry, I won't beat you. On the contrary, I want you to beat me. Ye Feng specially picked such a place and summoned Shoha out in order to truly test the immortal mode. Pull, comprehensive ability, especially defensive this piece. After all, now that he has almost finished his work in a strong enemy, it is really not easy to find an opponent who is stronger than Shoha. Moreover, the biggest advantage of the tailed beast is that it has a huge amount of chakra and has enough staying power, which is also convenient for Ye Feng's habit of training for a long time. At this time, Shoha was not clear about what he would face next. And such a good thing? Shoha stared at Ye Feng a little suspiciously, but after confirming that he had heard correctly several times, a treacherous and smug smile suddenly rose on its big face. Episode 135. Ye Feng, finally found me a chance to take revenge. Shoha quickly opened the distance, and when it walked hundreds of meters away, its small eyes aimed at Ye Feng. He has been dissatisfied with Ye Feng for a long time, but he can't beat Ye Feng himself, and the other party's strength has been improving by leaps and bounds, and after a long time, Shoha gave up his plan to beat Ye Feng. However, I really didn't expect that I actually won a jackpot today, and Ye Feng's brain suddenly twitched and wanted to cultivate by letting others beat him. Without wasting a trace of time, Shoha's mouth suddenly opened wide. Wind escape practice air bullet burst. The surrounding air quickly compressed to form a huge wind ball that shot directly from Shizuru's mouth. However, in the face of this blow, Ye Feng defeated it with just a snap of his fingers, and the powerful air flow suddenly dissipated, and the terrifying power made Shoha stunned, unable to even say a word. Lao Tzu's technique made the sky break with one finger. Just when Shoha doubted his life, Ye Feng's voice came again. Shoha, haven't you eaten enough? Ye Feng's words stimulated Shoha, and its own temper was very irritable and willful, and it couldn't hold the stimulation at all. If the object in front of him was not Ye Feng, it would have swallowed him into his stomach a long time ago. Abominable. The condensed chakra exudes a powerful aura, infinitely compressed in its mouth, quickly forming a small black ball, like multiple bubbles tied together. Even ordinary people can easily feel the terrifying energy contained in this black sphere from it. That's decent. The corners of Ye Feng's mouth provoked. Tailed Beast Jade. The strongest attack method possessed by the 9-tailed beasts is made of yin-yang chakra compressed 2:8 into a ball, which can cause the power of landslides and ground cracks. Phew! The tailed beast Jade quickly flew towards the night maple like a thunder, like a comet, pulling out a black trajectory that had not been scattered for a long time, and the shock wave formed by the air plowed a deep huge ditch on the ground, turning everything it passed into ashes. However, when the tailed beast Jade was in the middle of Ye Feng, Shohei's smile suddenly froze, and I saw that after the smoke and dust of the explosion dispersed, Ye Feng still stood in place, not even a little injured. Feeling the previous tailed beast Jade, Ye Feng nodded. Immortal mode. Ji's defensive ability was really strong. He hadn't even taken a protective posture before, so he stood straight here, but the tailed beast Jade still couldn't hurt him by half a point. If I cultivate this immortal art to the extreme, I should be able to directly change my physique from the root, so that I also have this ability in my ordinary state. Thinking of this, Ye Feng continued to shout at the ghost-looking Shoha, "Continue. Go on, go on." With Yomoki's devil-like voice, Shizuru continued to release ninjutsu. By 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, Shoha was like a sugar cane that had been squeezed out of juice, and his originally bloated huge body looked to have shrunk a little, lying motionless on the ground. Looking at Ye Feng, who was still in great spirits, Shoha's small eyes like coins became terrified, and he wailed bitterly, You let me go. I really don't have a drop of chakra left. How can the tailed beast say that he can't do it? Again, Ye Feng glanced at Shoha dissatisfiedly. His immortal mode was being improved, but the guy in front of him seemed to be no longer good. Forget it, let's let you go today. With a one-handed seal, with a bang, Shizuru disappeared again, and Ye Feng went home immediately after finishing training. As soon as I entered the house, I saw Joshinai coming out of the bathing room, only wearing a white bath towel tied to her body, which looked very sexy. I saw Joshinai coming slowly, and Ye Feng also walked over and hugged each other, but just when he wanted to say something, Joshinai's words made him a little more nervous. You smell of another woman. At this time, Ye Feng also admired the woman's sense of smell a little, although he did not sweat after cultivating outside all day. The sand and dust raised around him was estimated to have a taste, right? But Joshinai smelled other women's perfume as soon as she smelled it. Is it Makoto? If it were someone else's, maybe she would make a fuss, but the other party is Makoto, and with Ye Feng's current identity, it is equivalent to the master and emperor of this continent. For the sake of future heirs and family development and other issues, Joshinai also thought about the possibility of spending the night with 3 wives and 4 concubines, so to some extent, she was also mentally prepared for a long time. In addition, she has recently found that many young and beautiful single women are approaching her intentionally or unintentionally, and from her intuition, the other party is coming for her husband. Compared to those women who don't know the details, Namikoto is still much better. Actually, I used to notice that you had that kind of atmosphere with her, and later when I got along with Seiko, I was even more sure. She is the daughter of you and Mikoto in the future, although I don't know what means to use, but I went back in time from the future to deal with that guy called Otsukipo style. Episode 136. Listening to Joshinai's words, Ye Feng instantly felt that a woman's sixth sense was sometimes more terrifying than his perception ability, and this wave of inference was almost completely correct. However, Joshinai's attitude was not as fierce as he imagined. Actually, you will have other women, I didn't think about it. Joshinai grabbed Yiki's neckline and pulled him over, and both of them could feel each other's snorts. It's just that I have one condition, that is, I want to be the big one whenever I am. After that, she kissed Ye Feng hard. In the next second, the two were completely entangled. Until the next morning, Joshinai curled up in the crook of Ye Feng's arms like a kitten. In the following time, Ye Feng did not work and practice much, but spent most of his time with Joshina and Uchiha Makoto, eating, shopping, watching movies, visiting various exhibitions, and so on. Sometimes the body is with Kushina, and the avatar is with Makoto. Sometimes it's the body and Makoto together, and the doppelganger with Kushina. After 1 month, Makoto and Kushina can enter the immortal mode very skillfully. Under the immortal mode, the combat effectiveness of the two women has greatly increased. Soon, Kushina and Uchiha Makoto are pregnant with Yokoichi's child at the same time. Although monogamy is common in the world of Hokage, there is no bigamy, and with the identity of Knight Kid, no matter how many women he marries, no one will say much. The news of Yokoichi and Makoto Uchiha getting married soon spread throughout Konoha. At this moment, countless men made heartbroken sounds. After all, Uchiha Makoto, as a famous beauty in Konoha, still has many admirers, but everyone thought about it, and the other party's marriage partner was Yikid, and they were immediately relieved. After all, they couldn't think of anyone in this world who could be stronger and better than their own Lord Ye Feng. At the same time, the major families on the continent also experienced some fluctuations, and the clan elders in the family regretted not sending the young and beautiful women of their clan to Konoha to lurk earlier. If you are lucky, once you are favored by Ye Feng, the family can rise and instantly become the top power in the world. And at this time, the object of their envy, Uchiha Motoyanagi's mansion, attracted a large group of guests early in the morning. Some of them were from the same clan, some were famous families in Konoha, and some came from other places to give gifts and congratulations. All in all, it was as if it could fill his entire mansion with gifts. While happily accepting the gifts and greeting the guests, Uchiha Motoyanagi sighed in his heart. That girl, she really made it. Now Ye Feng's identity is much stronger than when he was just a Hokage, equivalent to the master of the entire ninja world and even the entire continent, whether it is personal strength or the power he possesses. In other words, the identities of Kushina and Mikoto were princesses thousands of years ago. On the other hand, when high-ranking officials from all over the continent, even daimyo, received the good news from Ye Feng, they did not hesitate and immediately rushed to Konoha with their own relatives in order to send a congratulatory gift to Ye Feng. They all knew that they could get to the current position because Ye Feng promoted them up. Now the whole continent is in each other's pockets, can they not be sensible when they do small? On the day of Yekate's wedding, the whole of Konoha was already enveloped in a festive atmosphere. Every household spreads a layer of red cloth on the house, and even the heads of Yokaide and Mikoto Uchiha are hung in the lobby of some hotels. Everyone's faces were filled with an excited smile. Lin, Xiaomei, and the two teak doors, these little girls, looking at the gorgeous and vast hall in front of them, were all stunned and showed envious looks. The delicate lighting on the ceiling and the beautiful paintings on the huge walls seem to make the floor paved with gold bricks, as if this auditorium exists to interpret the term luxury. Originally, those famous big people now showed a nervous look, and even the usually calm daimyo of various countries exhaled a long breath. While thinking about this, Terumi meditated on what was being broadcast on the TV screen today. That's when several hosts are talking while broadcasting the content of today's wedding. The band in front of the Hokage building today is conducted by the well-known musician Mizari. As you can see, the first flower team has set off from the village gate. Seeing the content on TV and the scene in front of them, all the girls had an incredible feeling, because she really can't imagine whose wedding in the past can make a sensation in the city, no, the whole world. Then she heard an exclamation behind her, and saw a handsome man in a white suit, black hair and black eyes, and a beautiful woman in a wedding dress walking out under the cheers and support of everyone. Teacher, happy marriage. Lord Yikide. Lord Knight Maple. This man is Yikide, and Mikoto Uchiha next to him is wearing a white and elegant off-the-shoulder wedding dress. Her lower abdomen is slightly bulging, her pretty face is slightly blushing, and she is showing a sweet smile. Episode 137. Mikoto Uchiha's beautiful face turned into delicate makeup, her fair jade-like skin contrasted with her long inky black hair, her close-fitting wedding dress outlined her heartwarming body curves, and her long skirt dragged on the red carpet with an indescribable beauty. Let's go over. Yokaide took Mikoto's white and delicate little hand and slowly walked to the front of the auditorium. In this way, Ye Feng completed the wedding ceremony with Mikoto Uchiha in the sound of countless people's blessings. When Yokaide brought the wedding ring to Mikoto Uchiha and gave her a deep kiss, everyone cheered. At this moment, the sky, which was originally daytime, turned into a starry sky with a wave of Ye Feng's hand. The next moment, the sky-piercing fireworks illuminated the entire Konoha sky, forming Uchiha Mikoto's beautiful face under the control of Yokaide. Countless women in the audience, including Terumi, looked at the glorious Uchiha Mikoto on the stage with an envious gaze. How good it would be if I could find such a good man in the future. At this time, the two parties were holding their hands tightly, looking at each other. Everything was silent, and their wedding ended successfully. Yokaide himself is also very busy, although the main body and Uchiha Mikoto on their honeymoon in Konoha, and Nara Shikaku and Tsunade to help. There is still a lot of work that has not been done, many of which need to be read by him in person and signed and approved before he can execute. The first was that the name Shadow Empire was officially launched, known to everyone, and became the name of the only country on this continent. The original country has become a province. For example, it was previously called the Country of Thunder, and now it is the Province of Thunder. The former Shinobi village became the first city in each province except Konoha. However, the name is still called by the village concept of Yunin Village. The leader of the village is equivalent to the governor. In order to maintain the tradition, Ye Feng retained the title of the village chief Shadow. Hokage is the leader of the country, and the governors of the lower water Shadow, Wind Shadow, Thunder Shadow, Tokage, and other provinces are directly subordinate to Night Maple. Konoha is equivalent to the capital of the country and is the center of power of this vast empire. Ye Feng issued the first mainland law in mid-March, and there are no rules and no square circles. Compliance in all regions must be enforced, regardless of their cultural background, customs, or religious factors, and those who violate the law will be punished accordingly. Each local government is required to report all important matters to Konoha and follow Konoha's instructions and arrangements. And every citizen of the empire needs to make a document to make his own identification card. In addition, there is treatment of poor and war-affected areas. Various policies have been introduced for each region, and some poor areas that have not been able to grow crops and have famine will be provided by the government with abundant materials and food, as well as educational resources. Moreover, the government will regularly send some expert ninjas to revitalize the poor land and gradually improve the local natural environment. Just like Yuin Village, an area that is caught between the three kingdoms and fights constantly, Ye Feng pays more attention. He first eliminated all kinds of evil forces in the local area, and then selected some highly respected people from the local area to become village chiefs and manage Yuin Village, and all disobedient voices were eliminated by him. At the same time, education was vigorously promoted and large quantities of food and resources were transported to war-torn areas. In a short period of time, villages like Yuin Village, which had been plagued by war, developed at an unprecedented speed. Time flies, the white horse passes the gap, and the year passes quietly. In the space of this year, the whole world has changed dramatically. Since Hokage unified the ninja world and unified the kingdoms a year ago, the only country on this continent is the Shadow Empire. The original countries became provinces, and the original shinobi village became the first city of each province. Konoha, on the other hand, is the center of power in this huge country, and the first law was enacted by Hokage, and all regions regardless of cultural background must be obeyed, and local governments also need to report all important matters to Konoha and follow its instructions and arrangements. Night Maple has also introduced many policies to benefit the people in each region, and the government has provided abundant materials and food, as well as educational resources, for some poor areas that cannot grow crops and have famine. And like Yuin Village, itself sandwiched between the three kingdoms, an area with constant fighting, has also developed quite rapidly when everything has stabilized now. However, among these changes, the biggest change is undoubtedly technological innovation. 8 months ago, after countless experiments that did not cause damage to the human body, side effects, and the spatial passage was very stable, Konoha officially launched the space device. Episode 138. It was a 7-meter-tall giant metal door. As long as the space door was shuttled, anyone could instantly go to the location of another space door, and now the space door was distributed all over the continent. The way ordinary people travel has changed from their own carriages, trains, etc., to passing through the space gate, and anyone can use the space door as long as they pass the latest identity card set up by the Technology Bureau. Thanks to this, there are no geographical barriers between regions, and anyone can freely choose the environment in which they live and work, such as working in Konoha in the afternoon and returning to Yunin's home to eat with his wife in the evening. Moreover, the business environment has also changed greatly, and merchants can trade in different areas through space doors, and a group of merchants who carry goods everywhere are born in a short period of time. Obito. You kid, give me a good focus. On Miamu Mountain, the bamboo stick in Ye Feng's hand quickly knocked on Obito's head, and with a cry of pain, Obito's head instantly swollen. Teacher, this natural energy is too difficult to perceive. Obito shouted aggrievedly while covering his head. The first point of the immortal mode is stillness. Of course, people like you who move around all day can't perceive it. Ye Feng pointed to Kakashi, who was fixed on the Needle Mountain with a wooden plank not far away. Look, isn't Kakashi doing a good job? After speaking, he pointed to Rin, who was motionless next to Obito. Got it. First keep yourself the most basic immobility, and then let yourself perceive nature and become a part of nature. Only in this way can you absorb natural energy. It had been half a month since Ye Feng brought the 3 disciples to Miamu Mountain. During this time, he taught Kakashi and Obito the cultivation methods of the Myoki Mountain Immortal Mode, and taught the immortal art of the Wet Bone Forest to Rin. Kakashi's talent for learning is very strong, and during Yokui's training, he quickly mastered the method of sensing and absorbing natural energy, and now he has entered the stage of adjusting the proportion of natural energy. And Rin's own physique is also very suitable for cultivating the immortal mode of the Wet Bone Forest, and entering the realm is similar to Kakashi. As for the kid with soil, although he is a member of the Uchiha family, his brain seems to have not opened up, and he pays too much attention to the talent of writing chakra, but lacks his ontological ability. For these 3 disciples, Ye Feng did not help them achieve rapid success like Jioshinai, but let them personally experience every bit of the cultivation process and understand the truth of every point of cultivation and harvest. Of course, his guidance also greatly reduced their mistakes and shortened their cultivation time. Another week had passed, and by this time Kakashi and Rin had barely been able to enter immortal mode, and only Obito had reached its final stage, and it was only a matter of time before they entered immortal mode. Yorikide spoke to Fukasaku and Shima and asked them to help take care of his disciples before leaving. Ye Feng walked towards a giant metal door, 7 meters high in front of him. This is the space door, and with the stable space passage formed by this door, anyone can instantly go to the location of another space door. A few months ago, Ye Feng and Orochimaru accelerated the progress of the experiment after completing the shuttle experiment. After hundreds of experiments, when it was determined that space travel had no damage and side effects on the human body, Ye Feng and Orochimaru made the first formal space device, which was the metal door in front of them. Night Maple plans to mass-produce 100 space doors of the same specification in the next 3 months, and distribute them all over the mainland. After passing through the space gate, he has returned to the Konoha Research Bureau. Is that thing done? The moment he saw the big snake pill, Ye Feng asked directly. Barely. The big snake pill nodded, and saw that his face was haggard, his eyes were thick with dark circles, and he looked like he could die violently at any time. You must know that the physique of his own ninja is very strong, and as one of the 3 ninja and good at human body science, the big snake pill can become like this, which is enough to see how much liver he has during this time. For a while, Ye Feng felt a little embarrassed about treating the other party as a tool person. He followed Orochimaru to a room, where he saw that it was full of all kinds of complicated equipment, and 7 or 8 staff members were tinkering with buttons. A moment later, the large screen in front of him lit up, and a very familiar computer operation interface appeared, and Ye Feng's operation was no different from the previous life. Then Orochimaru also showed him the remaining new equipment, such as game consoles, mobile phones, etc., completely modern things, all recreated in the science and ninjutsu of the Hokage world. In fact, the Hokage world also has its own technology tree, although it seems a little crooked to Ye Feng as a traverser, but it does have electronic technology and computer technology, and the level is equivalent to the period from the 80s to the 90s of the 21st century in the original world. He had thought that there were also a lot of modern things in Boruto's biography, such as richer TV shows, various trains, and being able to play handheld games, online duels, and so on. Night Maple intends to use his experience and insight to launch an internet network belonging to the Hokage world with Orochimaru. Very good. The most important tasks of the Scientific Research Bureau now are 2 tasks. The first is to mass-produce 100 space doors within 3 months and officially put them into civilian use. The second task is to mass-produce these devices, and to build the internet I mentioned earlier. During this time, all the funding of the Scientific Research Bureau is not a problem. Episode 139. Just when everyone was moving towards happiness and well-being, Ye Feng also joined forces with Orochimaru, who is currently the director of the Scientific Research and Technology Bureau, to jointly launch the internet. Although the technology tree of the Hokage is undoubtedly a little crooked compared with the original world, it also has electronic equipment, which is probably equivalent to the period from the 80s to the 90s of the 21st century of the original world. After Ye Feng launched the internet and its corresponding hardware facilities, the enthusiasm of the people of the Hokage world for the internet was really beyond his expectations. Online shopping, online education, work socialization, film and television entertainment. The development of the internet in the ninja world far exceeded Naruto's expectations, and even far exceeded the technological development of the Boruto era. During the year, everyone was lamenting the changes in their lives. The world has changed dramatically, and human beings' food, clothing, shelter, and transportation have been solved. There are no more wars and famines, and even in places like Yuin Village, where crimes used to be frequent, the number of crimes has dropped to 1 or 2, and it's just ordinary theft, with no casualties. The changes in technology are even more dramatic. At this time, the means of people's travel have changed from their own carriages, trains, etc., to passing through the space gate. With the latest ID card set up by the Technology Bureau, anyone can use the space door to go where they want to go. Since then, there are no geographical barriers between regions. Anyone can freely choose the environment in which they live and work, such as working in Konoha in the afternoon, and returning to Yunin's home to eat with his wife in the evening. The business environment has also changed greatly, and merchants can trade in different areas through space doors, and a group of merchants who carry goods everywhere are born in a short period of time. At this time, in the center of Konoha space, even if the hall was extremely vast, it was crowded. The passenger traffic has been increasing in the past week, and the reason is that the Continental Joint Chunin examination will be officially held in 2 weeks. In the past, the Chu Shinobi examination in each village was held twice a year, and it was generally an important occasion for observing national strength among major powers. Generally speaking, it is each shinobi village, at most, that is, 2 or 3 ninja village joint examinations. The current examination cycle is an examination conducted by all the lower shinobi in the mainland. It is an exam in which all the ninja villages in the entire continent are united. The scale has never been seen in the history of the entire continent. The examination cycle has also been changed to once a year by Ye Feng, and in order to transfer elite talents, the difficulty has also been greatly increased, and the examination environment has become more diverse. Tourists from all over the world came to Konoha from the space gate, some of them ninjas, and some of them tourists and businessmen who came to see the excitement of the exam. Look, that beautiful girl seems to be Terumii from Mist Hidden Village, right? Yes, there is also Marky from Shain Village over there. Several men and women next to them held mobile phones, looked at the photos on the screen, and then compared to the groups of ninjas who walked out of the space door, constantly making surprise calls. Half a year ago, after Ye Feng launched the internet and the corresponding hardware facilities, the enthusiasm of the people of the Hokage world for new things was beyond his expectations. The online shopping, online education, work socialization, film and television entertainment and other software designed by him have been supported and sought after by countless people, and various industries have been further developed because of new technologies. The current level of technology has even far exceeded the era of Naruto. And half a year ago, in order to let more people know about ninjas, Ye Feng also asked the Scientific Research Bureau and some private companies to create a live video broadcast platform about ninjas. People can watch a variety of ninja programs through mobile phones or televisions, and sometimes organize some live broadcasts of ninja competitions. And the live broadcast team also specially invited several people such as Sakumo Kiki and Nara Shikahisa to come and give a commentary. Some merchants also took advantage of this business opportunity and made some publications to introduce the ninjas of each ninja village. One of the magazines called Ninja Honcher did the best, sometimes inviting ninja teachers who worked at the school as interview subjects. The sales of each issue are getting higher and higher, and Ninja Honji has gradually become a well-known popular publication in the mainland. Readers can't help but admire the various gorgeous and powerful ninjutsu introduced in the magazine and the ninjas who master them. Something similar to a fan economy was born for a while, except that the object changed from a star to a powerful ninja. Since the last few issues of Ninja Honji have introduced the seed contestants of the Continental Joint Middle Ninja Exam, many people can recognize these at a glance. While there was a lot of commotion outside, Yokaide was sitting in Hokage's office, and a special interface was displayed on his computer desktop. This is an intelligence system built by the Orochimaru team, which can store various information monitored using virtual networks and electronic devices in a database. Of course, if this intelligence system included all the information, it would bring too much burden, so Orochimaru would first record the intelligence of crime, rebellion, and some current ninja organizations. Yokaide was browsing through various intelligence, and at this time he was reading information about the ninja organization of the Shadow Empire. Although the mainland has now been unified by him, such a large area, manpower is always limited, and there are many organizations that are originally integrated with the local area, forming a stable social environment, and if it is eradicated casually, it will become more troublesome. Therefore, from the perspective of economic benefits, Ye Feng did not completely eliminate those organizations. At most, he eliminated the leaders who did not listen to him, and then took a leader who was completely subordinate to him. His eyes kept scanning all kinds of information, and then the big snake pill transmitted a copy here. Ye Feng clicked on the browsing, and after reading it, he narrowed his eyes, and there was a dangerous light in his eyes. These guys are really looking for death. The content of this document is about the remnants of the former dynasty, originally some of the opposition in the 5 major countries that were not liquidated cleanly, and some people who were dissatisfied with Ye Feng formed an armed force called the Resistance Army, organized throughout the continent, and it is estimated that some very remote places far from the space gate were selected as bases to accumulate strength. Among them, the former Shinobu Chiyo's faction even planned to kidnap Kushina and Mikoto, who were about to give birth, to blackmail him. If it weren't for the fact that the Scientific Research Bureau had already monitored the entire world's every move, Ye Feng might not really know the plans of this group of people. Chiyo's mother-in-law will have a mobilization meeting in 2 days, or it will be good to serve you all in one pot by then. Ye Feng's eyes scanned the information again, completely remembering the location of the rebel stronghold, the time of the operation, and the intelligence of everyone involved. Then he sealed the seal with one hand, and the 8 wooden doppelgangers separated from him. Destroy them all. As soon as the words fell, Ye Feng's 8 doppelgangers had disappeared without a trace. Episode 140. 2 days later, on the mountain col 100 kilometers away from Shaoyin village, many people in strange costumes and armed forces came and went. Heiju wore a mask and a black hooded robe, walking around the crowd and looking around. Ye Feng, this bastard killed Madara and ruined my millennium plan. I won't let him have a good time. Every time he thought that Ye Feng had ruined his millennium plan, Heiju couldn't wait to kill the other party with his own hands. However, he also understood that with his own strength, he would definitely not be Ye Feng's opponent, so when he learned that the rebels had gathered to deal with Ye Feng, he rushed over as soon as possible, intending to see what chess pieces the rebels had that were worth controlling. Unfortunately, so far, all I have seen are wandering ninjas, generally under shinobu and medium shinobi. This group of people has no pressure to deal with ordinary people, but to fight against this huge shadow empire today, it is really a pebble. At this moment, there was a movement behind it, and Heiju turned his head and muttered, "Is it about to start?" I saw that dozens of meters away, all the people in the call gathered in front of a high platform, and a middle-aged woman slowly walked up. Seeing this, Heiju hurriedly walked over. There were already a lot of people below, and there were almost 200 people gathered, most of them wandering ninjas or rebels wanted by previous countries, and dozens of samurai from the Land of Iron. Chiyo looked at the crowd at his feet, coughed, attached chakra to his throat, and said, "Guys, you're all ninjas, so I'll have something to say." 1 year ago, Konoha invaded various ninja villages and even major powers, and Konoha's leader, Yoramide, spread his ambitions throughout the continent, establishing the so-called Shadow Empire, and inhumanely killing ninjas who opposed their evil rule. Such behavior is really heinous. Saying this, someone in the audience shouted, "That's right, the behavior of the Night Maple Demon Head is simply condemned by everyone. Why should our own country be handed over to him? What kind of shit empire is also engaged?" Led by several people, the ninjas present soon fell into disgust for Yakid and the Shadow Empire, as well as admiration for Chio. A Zongnin next to him said to Heiju excitedly, "Buddy, I see that this Night Maple is completely angry. There are so many of us, we will definitely be able to defeat him." Heiju sneered, silent, and sneered at the other party's words in his heart. In his eyes, these ninjas are completely a gang of rabble. Not to mention Night Kid, Konoha can probably destroy them by sending a few teams of dark troops out at random. It is estimated that this Chio still has some strength in this group, and he can barely be regarded as a shadow-level powerhouse. Heiju looked at the endless Chio on the stage. From the previous information, it already knew that this Chio was the high level of the Sand-Hidden Village before, but due to the battle with Ye Feng at that time, many relatives, friends, and juniors died in the hands of Ye Feng. And now he parted ways with his younger brother Hai Laozong and set up his own portal to fulfill his great cause of revenge. The other party is also a master who can fool people, and after fighting with Ye Feng, it is clear that these people present cannot threaten each other, but they still draw a big pie for their group of country ninjas. Let them participate in this death match, and really seize every opportunity. I saw that the atmosphere was getting warmer and warmer. Chio proposed that the 200 people at the scene form a rebel army, and planned to kidnap the people around Night Maple first to restrict Night Maple. The current rebel army is not only us, there are other companions and bases near the other shinobi villages. Once we control him through Night Maple's woman, our companions will revolt from everywhere, forming a net of encirclement to eliminate Konoha and its lackeys. Listening to Chio's flickering for a while, many people on the scene had already signed a petition to join it, and the rest of the people were also thinking carefully. After all, if they succeeded, their group of low-level ninjas with bad records would be able to turn over and become slaves. And after thinking for a while, they still joined the rebels. Looking at the wandering ninjas around him who were red with excitement after being drawn with big cakes, Kuro couldn't help but shake his head, thinking that he had come to the wrong place this time. A samurai shouted excitedly, "Guys, could it be that so many of us are still afraid of Ye Feng? Yes, Ye Feng is still so young. In fact, how strong can it be? I think there must be something strange in this. Grab his woman and make him kowtow to us." For a moment, the group of people in the audience was extremely swollen, only feeling that so many ninjas united together would definitely be able to defeat Ye Feng. The rebels took the lead in shouting, "Rebels!" Heiju scolded in his heart, "A bunch of idiots." Now it feels that it is simply a waste of time to come to see this group of people, just with the IQ, strength, and experience of these people, not to mention the woman who sneaked into Konoha to kidnap Ye Feng. I am afraid that even Konoha's door will be all dead. These people have too little knowledge. I'm afraid they don't know how big the gap between ninjas can be, and it's really a dead end to go to Night Maple in this camp. Thinking of this, Heiju's figure quietly dived to the ground and left here. After about 10 minutes, just when everyone was in turmoil, a loud noise suddenly sounded from the crowd, as if something had fallen, and the terrible impact surged around, pushing the scene to their backs. As the smoke rose, I saw a black shadow standing on top of a pile of corpses. "Be bold," Chio shouted, "who dares to make trouble here? You guys are panicking and want to rebel." With Chio's voice, a man with black hair and black eyes turned from the pile of corpses, and that familiar face made Chio's face suddenly pale. Night Maple. The name Chio uttered could be described as a stone that stirred up 1,000 waves, and the two words of Night Maple shocked those present. These people are just a group of rabble. No matter how much they blow that they want to smash Ye Feng's corpse into 10,000 pieces, but when they really see each other and feel the impact in front of them, they are already so frightened that they want to bury their heads in the ground. The sudden appearance of Ye Feng made all the rebels present become panicked. Some wanted to fight, some planned to negotiate, and some already sensed that something was wrong and were ready to flee. Chio's feet couldn't help but tremble, and the moment she saw this man, she remembered the nightmare of the destruction of the village of Tsunahi. Originally, she only planned to use Ye Feng's notoriety to accumulate her own strength this time, but she didn't expect that the plan had already recruited Ye Feng before taking the first step. Taking a deep breath, Chio looked at Ye Feng with a solemn expression. "I didn't expect that you would come over in person." Ye Feng shook his head. "Strictly speaking, I didn't come in person. This is just a wooden doppelganger of mine."